And we are off on our big adventure. We spent about 13 hours in the air getting to France. Raven slept quite a bit, but Tony and I, not so much.
We definitely have to go every
Upon arriving in Paris, we would have to navigate our way to the city of Villers-Villers-Coublay through buses, trains, and the subways, and we would learn a very important lesson. There are no free toilets in Europe. We emerged from the subway to have our first meal in Paris, lunch at a Japanese restaurant. In all, it would take us 5 hours to cross Paris to get to our Airbnb. In retrospect, we should have just called an Uber. We arrived at the Airbnb exhausted and promptly fell asleep. I was fascinated with the unusual power outlets. The next morning, we basically had dessert for breakfast. I had a little coffee and a large French bread cookie that I affectionately named the Fookie. Tony asked me to never repeat that word in public. Sadly, the camera did not pick up that when this crepe and ice cream dish arrived at our table, it was on fire. The area of Villers-Villers-Coublay where we stayed was rather modern, with very close parking and sheep who were on the city payroll as lawn mowers.
Yeah. You're just a sheep. Look at you just being a sheep. You're going to tear your hand off.
He is?
I don't know.
Baby? Oh, it's a goat. Look.
Watch those fingers.
A short bus ride later, and we were in an older section of the city and on our way to the famed Palace of Versailles. The Palace of Versailles was beautiful. It was over the top opulent and magnificent in every single way, marred only by the fact that it lacked air conditioning and we shared it with about 7,000 other tourists on one of the hottest days of the year.
And what did you just say?
So, who needs this much of a garden? Think of all the work. And you're not even doing it. And you probably don't even go to
After a few days, we relocated to a beautiful old hotel in downtown Paris. It had long, winding stairways and a tiny, cramped elevator that, for the first time in my life, made me feel claustrophobic. This is our hotel in Paris?
Yeah.
This is a view from our window of our hotel.
2 hands. You're making me worry.
And Raven's afraid that I'm going to drop my cell phone out the window.
But we can just grab it out of the
And
one
it
of
would
those
go down
gutters.
there. In Paris, everything is larger than life, including the carnival rides.
Alright, that thing right there that she's squishing, that's the Eiffel Tower. Woot woot!
We decided to take a float on the River Seine. Sadly, this was as close as we could get to the famed Notre Dame Cathedral, as it had been badly damaged by fire the year before. At the last minute, we decided not to ride up the elevator to the top of the Eiffel Tower. The elevator was crammed with tourists and lacked air conditioning. The temperature was above 90 degrees and the city was sweltering. Everywhere that we looked in Paris, we encountered statues. Statues of stone, statues that were gold-plated. Statues with big details. For our last night in Paris, we got dressed up and had a nice dinner, though I think my salad had raw horse meat in it. Getting to bed that night was not easy, as around midnight, chaos broke out. We thought it might have been riots, but it was just happy parishioners celebrating a football victory.